Good afternoon, dear friends. I'm Viktor Naumov, RIPE NCC Development. I deal with the RIPE Atlas development. First of all, I'd like to thank you for warm words in RIPE Atlas. We are very pleased that you make use of this program, and it's very useful. Who knows what is a RIPE Atlas is? And who uses the RIPE Atlas? I can see that there's no need to do any introduction. I will shift to the new things for the last 6 months. What happens? Currently, the number of connected probes fluctuate around the 9,700 probes. At the moment of RIPE 73, there was 9,350 probes. During this half a year, we had the problems that flashcards on USB started to malfunction, where the probes place the root system and validate the measurement results. It turned out that flashcards they were of poor quality, and they are being erased very quickly. In April, we produced a new firmware that uses less external flash card. We started to work more actively with users so that users made actions to restore the probes. If your probe behaves suspiciously, doesn't switch on, it's probably the problem with the flash card. And your task is to change this flash card for another one with the capacity of more, 4 gigabyte. We covered ACES 3400. We collect more than 4,500 results per second, or 390 millions per day. Quite considerable figures. So the coverage, nearly the whole the whole map is covered with these probes. And of course, these empty places that are not covered, we want them to be covered. We had 308,804 ambassadors who spread the probes and who explain how to use RIPE Atlas. 1,940 Twitter followers. The users total 33,000, more than 6,000 active last quarter. You can see that. You can see the growth by the naked eye. How RIPE Atlas is used. You can read on our site, on our portal. You can take the ideas from this. You can be inspired, and you can read the very interesting results of the study. Here you can see the brief list of what has happened during the last several months. As to servers and anchors, the number of anchors has increased by 30 units. It's a very good growth. On the graph, you can see the linear growth. The number of anchors, installed anchors. We are very grateful to UPNIC, LACNIC, ISOC, and AFRINIC for these anchors installment. As to probes, we have to move further. Now we are looking at the candidates for version 4 probes. It should be capable. The volume of accumulator that we can place measurements and not using external flashcards, stable, inexpensive, and available for ordering. The first probes, version 1 and 2, they have worked since the end of the 2010. In principle, they work very good. The only thing is, now they can't withstand the load. That's why we try to redistribute the loads. We want them to be replaced with something more capacious. All the same, we continue support. We are not going to add up new functionalities. We will continue to support versions 1 and 2. As to virtual probes, many people ask us about these virtual probes. Now, in fact, quite recently, we have considered this issue, but as a result, due to the lack of resources for maintenance of all these different architecture, all these different ways of installment. For example, now we have 2 ways of installment support February for probes and anchors. If there is a virtual probe, it will be the 3rd way of support. Virtual probes, they have their own risks and disadvantages because no one can guarantee at what virtual environment this probe will work and what kind of latencies we will face. It should be worked out. Are there tags of new probe stability emerged? Leonid? The presenter talks, some presenter talks about the fact that probes can be switched off, and we can't use them stably in our measurements. That's why we introduced tags. The probe stable during 1 day, during a week, during a month, and according to these tags information, you can select probes for your zone measurement, and you will be sure that the results will be verifiable. We added a new root servers. We had hackathon in April. We produce new instrument TraceMON that can visualize trace route. You can see how routing is changing during that time. I'm not going to get into details. The presentation is available. For example, you can watch Massimo's Scandal presentation for details. We have been working for a long time on the Wi-Fi measurements. It's bound to UDO-ROM. It's our main customer. Not all Wi-Fi connections can be measured. We use Wi-Fi list for them, for this purpose. Every participant can press the button. There's no button now, but he can press the button saying that he wants to participate in the measurement. Everything will be according to your wish, what kind of probes to measure. And the last, OpenIPMap. We are trying to develop this. We involve the users and motivate the users to participate in this OpenIPMap. Very soon the product will be issued. It's how it will look like. And we hope that this will be helpful as to the geolocation accuracy. Questions? I have the question. The source of geolocation, this data, the source of geolocation, in fact, we will use several sources that will contribute to the accuracy. For example, some inaccurate sources, MaxMine, for example, they are rather good, so for approximate accuracy. But it will be based on trace route, and users can place where hopes are placed. Somebody who's launched trace route, they can put pins on the map. In this case, the secondary source for clarification emerges. The third source is triangulation based on RTC. Maybe some other sources will come out. We are open, and the system is supposed to support some additional sources for clarification of geolocation. Thank you. In fact, let's look at the last question. Quite recently, I had a problem. I've had a problem that the source of geolocation that I had in the places where I worked, 1,500 kilometers to the right and to the left, sometimes more. The accurate geolocation was possible only from the telephone stations. There is the opportunity to say to the RIPE that, for example, I am located here. Via Google Map, I can say this. The same is true for Googlovsky server. Several number of people who says, yes, this answer is correct. It would be good to apply this approach as well, of course. And we are going to do in this way so that users can use their known geolocation for some resources.
Cover range for RIPE NCC. I just want to give an additional answer to the question. But so basically, just a reminder, this service, OpenIPMap, is not the end user geolocation. It's not going to be. So RIPE, because this has been asked to RIPE NCC, and the board even has a statement that we are not going to do end user geolocation. Yes, this is only for the infrastructure. Now, I just want to repeat that just to make sure everybody is clear on that. So this is only for the infrastructure, but yes, the sources, including the method you mentioned, we should discover that and try using it. Yes. Yeah, in that case, then we would support it. In that case, we support this.
Последний вопрос.
And the last question, Leonid Yevdokimov. I'd like to say that probably you will be interested in talking with Mozilla about the geolocation IP in order to take geolocation of clients, customers' networks when the devices are connected to, and to measure latency, because Mozilla has an extensive database and they are more open than geolocation providers like Google or Yandex. Yes, it's an open database, of course. Is it an open database? Well, I cannot respond to you straight away, but I think that you can come to an agreement with them. I'm not confident that they have 100% open database, but I know that some data is open and you can find some common ground with them. Thank you, it's very interesting. Dear colleagues, the last thing is that the lunch is being served just in front of you. Enjoy it.